St. Louis Post-Dispatch columnist. Good morning, Tony.
I would have said 100 billion. I think I would have lost.
You would have gone over.
Slightly.
You would have been thrown back into The Price is Right. You would be there for the hour of power next time.
Yeah, but I would have been correct on the economic development part. I knew that was going to be negative.
Yeah, interesting. All right. All things Greitens all the time. Now, his attorney, Ed Dowd, is calling for Josh Hawley to recuse himself from the investigation. What do you think that's about?
Well, I think it's about two or three things. The first thing is, this is what mainstream Republicans feared. This is their worst nightmare. The reason that a lot of people came out and asked Eric Greitens to resign early, for many, if not most, there was just the moral question of whether or not somebody of such low character should continue in the governor's mansion. But the real fear from a political standpoint was that eventually he was going to be a drag on other Republicans, particularly the U.S. Senate race, which Republicans in the state want so badly to beat Democrat incumbent Claire McCaskill. And now you have the Republican governor going to war with the Republican Attorney General who's running for that Senate race. It's really bad for the Republican brand in terms of politics. But you also have state reps and Senate candidates who don't want to be asked constantly, what about Eric Greitens, who don't want to be involved in mailers now that remind voters in their district that the Republican at one point endorsed the sexual predator, and there will be a big picture of Eric Greitens on the mailer with some verbiage from the House report. I mean, it's really, really bad for Republican politicians that the governor is now going at the Attorney General. So from a political standpoint, I think that's the biggest thing that Republicans feared going in. So why is Greitens doing this? Why is Attorney Ed Dowd sending this letter? Because they're doing everything they can to distract from the horrible House report that was so devastating to Mr. Greitens and his reputation, and really said to most people, wow, we're surprised he was only charged with one felony. Two, there is a lot of political chatter out there that charges are eventually going to come on how the governor used the Mission Continues list from his former nonprofit and basically stole it, somehow obtained it, and used it to seed his political run, both in terms of contacts and donors and everything else. There is definitely, there are at least two investigations going on into that. And so I think there's some real fear that from the Greitens camp that other charges are going to come down. And then the other thing is that they really are playing this distraction game. The attorneys for Governor Greitens are playing this, throw everything up on the refrigerator and hope something sticks. I think they're worried about their case. They want everything they can do to distract from, the criminal case, distract from the House report. They're playing very desperate baseball right now, and they're just trying to hit anything they can.
So take the one step further. Ed Dowd and company, who I don't want to be called Sean Hannity, is my attorney as well. I have him on retainer. I literally gave him $1 once and said, "You're my attorney," and he agreed. But that was months ago. All right, so take it one step further. Ed Dowd is a Democrat. Ed Dowd is a Claire McCaskill supporter. He's now, Eric Greitens is raising money from Republican donors to pay Ed Dowd to represent Eric Greitens while he destroys or tries to destroy Josh Hawley to help Claire McCaskill win?
If you want to know why nobody in politics likes Eric Greitens, this is it. Eric Greitens is about Eric Greitens. period. And so he doesn't care about Josh Hawley. He doesn't care about Republican chances against Claire McCaskill. He doesn't care about the Republicans maintaining the House or the Senate in either Congress or in Missouri. Eric Greitens cares about Eric Greitens. And so his attorney is representing his attorney. I don't know Ed Dowd well, but I know of his reputation and of his law firm's reputation, and while a lot of people have been critical of it for them taking this case, Ed Dowd's representing his client. If his client wants to go after Josh Hawley, Ed Dowd's going to go after Josh Hawley on behalf of his client within the auspices of the law and legal ethics and everything else. And so what he's doing now is, I suspect that they believe a charge is coming related to Mission Continues. And so in the same way that they took out a radio ad to try to affect the jury pool in St. Louis that might ultimately hear the criminal case in May, he's now casting aspersions on the investigation into Mission Continues ahead of a possible indictment there. That's what Ed Dowd's doing. And yes, he's a Democrat, and that's going to be looked at by some people as it relates to what's going on, but this is legal work here. I don't think what Ed Dowd is doing related to this has anything to do with politics.
Right.
It has political consequences, but that's not what he's doing. He's representing his client.
No, you're right. I get that. I understand it. But what, in effect, is what's going to happen, because this McCaskill-Hawley race, assuming he wins, is going to be razor thin no matter how it plays out. I mean, we're talking about a couple of thousand votes here or there, and so every vote is viable. And the more you hurt Josh Hawley, the more that might carry over into the general election with Claire McCaskill.
Right. You know, I think that's true. And although I'm not great at predicting, races, but I would say this. People historically, as long as I've been in Missouri, people have underestimated Claire McCaskill. And every political consultant that I talk to says 2018 is going to be very difficult for Republicans. And so I don't know for sure that the U.S. Senate race is going to be as razor thin as some people think it's going to be. It'll be competitive because statewide races in Missouri are always competitive. But Josh Hawley has not exactly been setting the world on fire either in terms of fundraising or messaging or anything else. So he's doing some self-inflicted damage on his own campaign. Doesn't need Ed Dowd to help him or Eric Greitens to help him. But no doubt, if this continues, this line of attack, it's devastating for Republicans, because every time Greitens attacks Hawley, he gives Claire McCaskill another ad, mailer, whatever, to go after Josh Hawley in some capacity.
Tony Messenger, St. Louis Post-Dispatch columnist, STLtoday.com. Tony, thanks for checking in.